Hey guys, it's Kesara, and today I'm going to be doing the anti-TBR tag. So I've seen this tag going around quite a bit, and I've been kind of wanting to do like an unpopular opinion sort of tag, so I felt like this was a great way to do it, and I'm really excited for this. I will be linking the original tag down below, so definitely check that out. So question number one is, what is a popular book that everyone loves, but you have no interest in reading? I'm going to try and go for fantasy to make it hard on myself, because pretty much I'll read almost any fantasy book, especially if a lot of people like it, but I feel like other genres, like there's tons of them that I just have zero interest in reading. So I can think of two books off the top of my head that would kind of fit this. The first one is Song of the Lioness by Tamora Pierce. So this is a YA fantasy book that I've only heard good things about. Like everyone who's read this book has given me great recommendations for it. But I read her other series, which is like her sequel series, and I just thought they were okay. I feel like that would have been like a series that I would have read in elementary school and enjoyed, but like never like really loved. So that really didn't make me want to go back and read the prequel series, especially since I think the other series spoils it a little bit anyway. So yeah, I have no interest in reading it, but I've heard really great things. The other one that came to mind for me is Howl's Moving Castle by Diana Wynne Jones. I have no interest in reading this. I feel like I should, because everyone has such great things to say about it. Every time I hear it, I'm just like, maybe I'll watch the movie. I don't know, that sounds really bad. And I honestly don't know that much about it. Like I don't know like pretty much anything about it other than like the cover, in which there's this like castle that looks to be walking in a funny way, and it just reminds me of cartoons, and I just feel like I would like that better as a movie, so I don't really have an interest in reading the book. So question number two, a classic book or author that you have no interest in reading. And for this, I can't stay within fantasy because I honestly can't think of one within the fantasy genre. Personally, I'm one of those people that like, I'll honestly try almost anything, but one that I've heard about that's like kind of a classic that I just have zero interest in reading is Atlas Shrugged by Ayn Rand. It seems just really long and boring, and apparently it's really political, but not like in a good way, in a way that it makes it too much of the author's feelings into it. I don't know exactly what kind of politics, but from what I observed of people talking about it, it's probably not the kind of politics that would jive with me very well. So I just have zero interest in picking up this book, especially since it is a ginormous tome. Question number three is an author whose books you have no interest in reading, and for me, that'd be Dan Brown. I actually do own some of his books. I recently unhauled them, so I don't have them anymore, but because they're so popular, I feel like I should want to read them, but then you hear like the way he writes. I read another book this year that the writing reminds me of what other people have described Dan Brown's writing to be like, and it just annoyed the crap out of me all the time. Personally, I like action in plots, which his books seem to have a lot of action, but I don't like action for the sake of action, and if it doesn't have a long game in the book, if that makes sense, I don't care about a minor plot twist or a minor cliffhanger. From what I've heard, that's kind of how his books are. Even though they're like highly consumable, kind of regret reading them afterwards. At least that's what I've seen like in the comments whenever I've mentioned this. So yeah, I've kind of lost all interest in reading any of his books. And then question number 3.2 is a controversial author whose books you don't have any interest in reading. And I have one for this as well, and it's a fantasy author, and that's Terry Goodkind. Now, mind you, I did buy these books when I was younger because I didn't know anything about him, and he was a really popular fantasy author. And I started reading his books and I was just like, these aren't that good. And then you start hearing a lot about like interviews and things that he said, and I'm just like, yeah, I'm gonna unhaul these books. So yeah, I just have no interest in going back to those. So question number four is an author whose books you've read a couple of and you just decided that their books are not for you. And for me, I would have to go with Cassandra Clare. I read 3 of her books when I was younger, like way back when I was really into YA fantasy, like back then. And I read the first 2 Mortal Instruments books, and back then I was really disappointed in them. I was just like, why is it so bad? And that was when I was a teenager, when I was the target audience for those books. Because of that, I really don't want to read any of her other books, especially since most of them build on that original trilogy, which I just thought was so bad back then. So yeah, I just don't think that her books are for me. I know that a lot of other people love her books, and that's great, but I will not be reading them. So question number 5 is a genre that you have no interest in or could not get into. And for me, that'll be like crime or detective mysteries. I just don't have interest in those types of stories. Every time I pick up one and realize that that is what it's about, I just like immediately lose interest in the story, and I'm just like, I really don't care for the FBI agent or the police officer or whoever. Like, I don't care to have that type of story because I feel like they become more episodic. I don't know. I just don't have an interest in it. I've even tried to read like some of the more popular ones. Like I picked up, I think it was Silence of the Lambs, which is more on the horror side, I would say, but it still has a little bit of that detective mystery aspect to it. And it's just like, that ruined the book for me. Like I liked the rest of it, but that part of it I just didn't like. So yeah, I have issues with that one. And like even fantasy versions of that, like the Dresden Files, for example. I picked up Stormfront many times because so many people have told me that I will love the Dresden Files, but whenever I pick it up, I'm just like, yeah, I'm not that interested in it. So I don't know. It's just, I guess, a type of plot that I don't like as much as I really want to like. So the next question here is a book that you bought that you'll never read. I'm sure I have a few on my shelves and I've had quite a few that I've unhauled, but I think I'm gonna go with probably one of the more expensive ones that I bought that I will probably never read. So this, I'm going with Wicked Saints by Emily A. Duncan. This is a YA fantasy novel. This is an exclusive OwlCrate edition. This was back from when I had an OwlCrate subscription. I tried to give this book a chance. I really did. I read the first chapter, but honestly, the first chapter just made me more confused than anything. And the way people talk about this novel, it's just not the type of YA fantasy that I'm gonna like. I'm pretty sure like if I read this, I'm just gonna hate on it so bad. And I don't wanna read a book just to hate it. So yeah, I'm not gonna be reading this one. It's gorgeous. Don't get me wrong. I love how gorgeous it is, but it's just not my type of book. So question number 7 is a book series that you have no interest in reading or that you have DNF'd. So I'm gonna go with book series that I've DNF'd. And this is actually a very popular one, and that's Red Rising by Pierce Brown. I read the first book, and some aspects of this I actually really like. Like, I love the way Pierce Brown writes action and plot twists. He does such a good job of writing plot twists. But man, did I hate the main character so much. He was just so annoying. I'm not that much of a fan of like the dystopian novel. So even though this is maybe slightly more to the sci-fi realm than most dystopian novels, it definitely does have a very big dystopian aspect to it. Both of those aspects really kind of turned me off from this series. If Pierce Brown writes anything else, I am so down to read it because I really do like his writing, but I just hate this main character so much that I cannot read anything from his perspective anymore. Like I just can't. So yes, will not be continuing on with Red Rising. I actually do have a fantasy answer to this question as well, and that's the Daevabad trilogy by S.A. Chakrabarti. I read the first book. I was really frustrated with the first book, especially the way the world building was conveyed. I didn't like the way the information was disseminated throughout the book, and I really hated the romance. Just the romance did not work for me at all. Besides that, I did like this book. I liked the idea of this book. I liked the action. I even liked the plot. The ending was actually really good and made me really want to continue on with the next book in the series, which you guys actually voted in a poll for me to give this series a second chance. I started the second book in this series, which is The Kingdom of Copper, and well, I DNF'd that almost right away because the writing almost immediately turned me off from the story. I just can't with the series. I really want to, but it's just not working for me. And the last question is a new release that you have no interest in reading, and I feel like this one is an unpopular opinion because it's a really popular author. It's one of the books that I feel like are on a lot of people's like most anticipated releases of 2021. Empire of Vampire by Jake Kristoff. I have zero interest in picking this up. Like, I did not like Nevernight. I didn't like it, and I'm not that into vampire novels. Like, I do like them, but not that much, and I feel like Jake Kristoff is just not the author that I'm going to start liking vampires for. I'm probably never gonna pick up this one. I don't even know if I'm gonna pick up God's Grave, honestly. And I do own that book, and I love assassin high fantasy. So the fact that it's vampires and it's by an author that I don't necessarily like his works in a genre that I actually really do love, I don't see myself picking this book up at all. So that's all I have for you guys. Let me know in the comments if you're ready to read these books because I'd love to discuss with you guys. I post videos on Sundays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, so consider subscribing. And if you want to be notified as soon as I upload, you can click that little bell icon. If you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up to support my channel. All social media links are in the description down below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.